This is a question from Lynn. Many people say they are channeling many different spirits. How do we know they are from the universal one, from the absolute truth? Well, the truth is that you can't know. You can't ultimately know. And if you can't ultimately know, is that the best foundation to trust? What can you know? What can you ultimately know? What I am always emphasizing is that the only thing that can truly be known is your own direct perception. To step into your own direct perception, which is the connection to the source itself. When you connect to the source itself through that direct perception, then why do you need to consult anything else? At least when it comes to existence itself, when it comes to listening to your own true inner guidance. Because to listen to anybody else is to listen to an intermediary, to listen to second-hand perception, not direct perception. Direct perception means stepping out of the conditioning of the past and the mind to look freshly from this moment. That is the source. That is the absolute truth. You are the absolute truth. So anything other than connecting directly to what you are is not going to be the ultimate truth. And listening to others, you don't know the intention of others. You don't know the intention of your next door neighbor, the intention of a spirit guide. So how can you really trust that? If someone, a teacher, your next door neighbor, a spirit guide, is looking to point you back to the one, to who you are, to be self-sufficient in that, to be free in that, to listen to that. Well, that is one thing. But if their intention is to just keep you in that position of using them as an intermediary, listening to them, being controlled by them, then maybe that is a way of them trying to imprison you in some way. So spirit guides, entities, what is their intent? The proof is in the pudding. What are they trying to point you towards? If it is to become more reliant on them or more reliant on somebody else or reliant on something external, then I would say you want to be wary of that. Ultimately, what is it that you want? Why ultimately would anybody want to connect with these other spirits or entities? There's something that you want from it. Really, when you boil it down, what somebody really wants is they want that connection back to themselves. Maybe they think somebody else can give it to them. But of course, the truth is nobody can give it to you. Someone might help you, somebody might guide back towards that, but only you and you alone can discover that for yourself. So why not cut to the chase? Rather than going round relying on intermediaries, why not go straight to the source yourself? This is what people have been doing for thousands of years. The religions, through priests, have acted as an intermediary, saying you can only get to the source through me or through this scripture or through this external deity or entity. But the source is within you. When you listen to that source, when you connect with that source, then the guidance will be there. And in direct perception, not only is the guidance there, but you are instantly connecting to what you are, to be in the flow of that, to embody that. It's a stepping out of the mind. It's not going with that conditioned flow of thought. That's all secondhand perception, not direct. It's all the words of the past. There's this idea that just because an entity is disembodied, that somehow they become all wise and all knowing. But why can it not just be that there are different levels, just as there are human beings? Who knows what everybody's intent is? When one is coming from the ego, a limited identity, their intent is always going to be skewed by that. It's always going to be in benefit towards that. But when you're connecting to the source itself, it doesn't have the ego. It's coming from that connection of oneness. What is good for you is good for it, because it is you. But if you're listening to entities or others on earth that have a strong ego, that have the conditioning of the past, then can you really trust that? Or is it wise to trust that? You can trust it. Many people trust many different things. But the question is it wise to trust that? Or is it wisest to trust your real self? Your real self. Not the conditioned self, the real self. But to be able to trust that real self, you have to connect with the real self. You have to step into that direct perception. That means getting out of the past, seeing what you are beyond the past, seeing what you are beyond the limited sense of identity called the ego, beyond the person. So the invitation is always to connect to that. And when you connect to that, you don't need any intermediary anymore. And then channeling different entities will not really mean anything to you anymore. I hope that makes sense. Enjoy the play.